it's with you guys.
Air sounds.
Thank you. It was a great interview.
No, wait, Neal.
Am I staying?
No,
Okay,
stay,
I'll stay a little bit longer.
You just made it very
Where's
awkward.
my wife? Reve, where are you? Help me.
Hey, everybody.
Wow, this is great.
Welcome back to Riggle's Picks. I'm Rob Riggle.
I'm Darren Leader.
And today we have an incredibly special guest.
And he'll be here soon.
And he's here now. He's here now.
Send him in.
Neal McDonough, everybody.
Woo! Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for being here, Neal.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
we're finished?
Not yet.
Almost.
Oh, okay.
No.
Almost. Two more questions, and then we're out.
And you're out of here. Promise.
Woo!
I know you're double parked, so we
That's right,
appreciate you running in.
The El
we do
Camino's
not
outside
valet.
still running.
We do not valet.
And if Darren hadn't thrown down that spike strip, he might not have stopped.
That's
so
There's only one way to stop Neal. It's a spike strip.
Spike strip.
In every movie he's ever done, you'll
strip.
see a spike strip.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
right.
as it should be.
The only thing that stops my El Camino.
By the way, you've done a lot of movies.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
I know,
Starting
Darren.
already.
Please,
We're getting
Aaron.
dark.
Before you ask,
This
Darren,
is what happens.
Darren, please.
You get this
Here it
thing going.
You hear it. It's part. Okay. Hit me.
How old were you when you decided you want to be an actor?
14. I got cut from the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade plays. I didn't get a role. I got a tooth in one and a tree in the other, but I was a really good like that. My tree was rocking. No dialogue, but I held that pose for like 2 hours.
What
So
tree
you
were you?
were trying early though.
I was trying early, and I was always in sports. Hockey and baseball were my two big passions. And finally, when I got to high school, John Sullivan, who is the big director in the theater and back in my hometown, Hyannis, Massachusetts, was really at Barnstable High School was stellar. And my mom worked the song "And You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown" to Snoopy, and I went in and I auditioned for it. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Neal McDonough." He goes, "Where are you from?" "From here." Because "Why have I never seen you?" I'm like, "I know exactly. I'm pretty good, I think." And he goes, "I think you're really good. You're going to be Snoopy in the play." And my first night, I got a standing ovation. And in that moment, it was like, oh. And I was always like, my brothers, I have 5 older siblings, and they would torture me if I didn't entertain them at a young age. Like 3 years old, if I didn't make them laugh, they'd just beat me.
Really?
So I understood a tough crowd and have to do something. And I thank them every day because it wasn't malicious. It was just that's what big brothers did back in the 70s.
Yeah,
you hammer your little brother.
Yeah.
And
you had to deliver.
And I had to deliver. So getting on stage, I can get on stage now in front of a gazillion people. And Reve's like, I don't understand how you do it. You just kind of lose yourself in a character. And I do. And that night when I played Snoopy, I was like, oh, wow. And it wasn't like an ego thing. It was they're listening to me, and I'm giving all of myself back to them. So there's this reciprocal feeling that was just awesome. That I was like, oh, I think I could do this a little more. And then I kept doing it. And then I went to Syracuse and was a theater major and played baseball there. And after, when I got to Hollywood, my first week, I auditioned for, my cousin, Liam Monahan, said they're auditioning for Lou Gehrig, the Babe Ruth story for NBC. And I went out and auditioned for it, and I got it. And the same week, I was offered a minor league contract by the Pirates.
So you're at a fork in the road.
So I called my dad straight off the boat from Ireland, tough as nails Irish guy. I said, "Dad, I've got a dilemma." He goes, "What is it, son?" I'm like, "Well, I got a minor league baseball contract." "Oh, wonderful. You've always wanted to be a baseball player. How much are they paying you?" I'm like, "Well, it's like $1,700 signing, but you can work your way." "Oh, it's not about the money, son. It's about the money. What's the other thing?" I'm like, "Well, I got offered Lou Gehrig in the Babe Ruth story." "You've always wanted to be an actor. How much are they paying you?" And I said $50,000, and he hung up on me.
Amazing.
And that was it. It was like the greatest advice I had ever gotten. And
was a hang up.
It was a hang up. And so, yeah, I always
A hang
knew.
up in the sense of don't waste my time.
Don't
We're
waste
done
That's
here.
stupid.
We're done here.
Don't be dumb.
So was that was the first thing you went out for in Hollywood?
Yeah.
And you got it.
I got it.
And
Wow.
then
Well, that's a good sign.
That was a good sign.
That's
Wasn't bad.
Lets
Wasn't
you
bad.
know you're on the right path, I think.
But even then, I'd done that in a couple other movies, and I just missed home. I grew up in Cape Cod, and my parents had this great little motel, and every summer I'd go home for 3 months and wonder, do I want to really be in Hollywood, or do I love Cape Cod? I love where I'm growing up, and then I go back and I do some more stuff. And for years, I was kind of wrestled. Is this the right thing? And then at one point, I was kind of resigned to, I'm going back to Cape Cod. I haven't really crushed it in Hollywood. I've done a good job, and as soon as I moved back to Cape Cod, I got a call. A friend of mine said, "Steven Spielberg's looking for you for the show called Band of Brothers."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What's Band of Brothers?" So when's the audition? He goes, "Well, it's in 2 days." I'm like, "Oh gosh." So I remember buying a one-way ticket for $690 because I didn't have any money, and I slept on my buddy's floor. And the audition period for Band of Brothers went on for several months.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I was like sleeping on the floor,
For months.
And for months. And when I finally got the part, it was like, okay, everything took off after that. You know, I met my wife, Reve, the first day I got into town. Those guys are still all my best. But I mean, the smack talk between us every week on text threads is just stupid.
Still
Every single. I'm going to get so much crap from this today. You know,
that's amazing.
So it's so funny because so I host the Valor Awards in D.C. for the last 5 years, and last year we had a lot of the cast members of Band of Brothers out there because a lot of our World War II veterans are passing on, and we still had some 82nd and 101st guys that were there. You know, that made the jump, and they were there that night. And, you know, I sadly, they're all, 101, 102 years old, so I don't know how much longer we're going to have them. But I got to meet a lot of your castmates from that.
They're
great
awesome.
guys.
Oh, they're great
guys. I hung out with them most of the night. I wanted to hear their stories, and I'm talking about the veterans and the actors.
That's right.
It was, and they had such a wonderful relationship. They had such a wonderful rapport.
Oh, I would call Buck Compton at 3 o'clock in the morning. Which side did you have your Thompson on when you slept? Are you kidding me? It's 3 in the morning. Buck, I need to know. And he'd tell me, and I would just pepper him with questions. And Spielberg and Hanks were like, please call your guys. Yeah. They love telling you about this stuff because they generally don't talk about it.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so for Buck to open up and he became like another dad to me, it was, my dad was a military guy, and to be part of Buck's world and tell his story, and, to be part of that greatest generation was, my gosh.
What a story to tell, too.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So another funny coincidence. When I was in New York, I was still on active duty in the Marine Corps, but I auditioned for Band of Brothers.
Did you really?
In New York, and got a call back. But I was so green, I didn't know what I was doing. Also, God forbid, I got the part. I was on active duty. I couldn't have gone. I couldn't have gone to England for 4 months, 5 months. So I was like, even if I get this gig, I'm going to have to say no. So I was like, ugh. But I do remember I got the call back and I thought, oh, this is great. So I even went to Matt Walsh, who was my improv teacher, the only person I knew that was like, could help me. And he sat down and we worked lines for a couple hours, and he helped me get ready for the callback or whatever.
So I
didn't get it, obviously, but
when you we've talked about it.
When you got a callback. You know how many guys auditioned in no callbacks? I mean, nothing. Yeah. Thousands and thousands and thousands. Yeah. So congratulations. That's awesome.
When you're preparing for something and you're trying to memorize lines, you do repetition. That's what you've told me.
In the beginning, yes.
Right. What about when you're doing a movie and you got to know your lines? Do you bounce them off somebody, or do you do the solo, like when you're trying to learn?
It depends. I'm dyslexic, so I kind of have this photographic memory when it comes to looking. Like I can't if you give me that to read out loud right now, you'd think I was a moron, because I really struggle with it. Okay. But if I read it once or twice, I just kind of see it in my mind and it sticks. But I also have, like when I did Flags of Our Fathers with Clint Eastwood, and I had this massive 2-page dialogue about why we're going over to Japan and what this is all about and what it stands for and why we are here. And Reve, my wife, would wake me up at any time. Go. She'd have it printed at different spots around the house and always be working on my dialogue because I didn't want to screw up. Yeah. And I remember, and I thank Reve for that all the time because she prepared me for that one. And I remember being on the ship. We're in a battleship out in San Pedro, and there's 1,000 people on the ship. There's a World War II ship and the crew and everything, and there were 4 cameras set up, and it was supposed to be 2 days of filming for this because they weren't sure how long it was going to take. So me being a ball player, and just like I love game day, I love first takes, the excitement, I'm just jazzed up for it. I crushed it. Like not a syllable did I miss. Yeah. And Clint Eastwood was like, oh my gosh, all right boys, move in the sticks. So 4 cameras, 1 shot, moved it in, did it again. Oh gosh, McDonough, great. Move the cameras in. 1 more take. All right, close up. We're done by lunch. Turned the battleship around, came back in, and it was steaks and lobsters for everybody.
And I've heard that. So I'm so excited about this because you've worked with some of the best producers and directors in Hollywood history, Clint being one of them. Clint, I've never worked with him, but I've met him. But I've always heard that he doesn't play games. Like if you nail it, you nailed it, we're moving on. Which is, you know, a lot of directors like to have multiple takes to win.
And there's no pat on the back.
Right. There's no
Just,
pat on the
that's
back.
the work. You just did the work.
Yeah.
He'll roll on rehearsal, and he'll be like, okay, enough of that SHIT. Let's move on.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were great.
Yeah. And he doesn't love you up necessarily, but he
expects you to be ready to rumble.
And if you move on, consider that your pat on the back.
That's exactly it, Rob.
Yeah.
That's 100%. I mean, there's a boom guy stand like this. Like you go to sets and guys are on their cell phones.
Yeah.
People are talking. Dead silence. Everyone's ready. The makeup artist is waiting.
Yeah.
Everyone's waiting, and they'll do a take, and it's such a cohesive group that he builds.
Yeah.
And
Everyone's
it works.
present.
And yeah, exactly. And it's so now that Reve and I are producing our own films, I've been so blessed to be part of the world of Steven Spielberg and Clint Eastwoods or Dick Donners or all these like really great directors, and it's always you've got to be prepared. And if you're prepared, great things happen. We'll be under budget, we'll be under schedule. You go home after 10 hours, not 17 hours. The crew loves you, everything works, and you're having steak and lobster at lunch.
And generally speaking, you'll probably get a call from that director again.
Bingo. Bingo.
I think that's what most people underestimate. Is like if you deliver for someone, generally speaking, they'll come back to you.
That's right. Because that's what they want.
Speaking,
They want lunch pail guys.
Yeah.
Show up, say your lines, do your work,
do
and
your
go
work,
home.
do it well, and go home.
That's right. And I've been blessed to be able to have that kind of
that's a good work ethic. Probably does that come from your mom and dad?
Oh, for sure. My mom and dad were straight off the boat Irish people who are like you work your butt off to succeed and bring up a family. And I'm blessed because God gave me Reve. So I have these 5 incredible kids who are all striving to be the best version of themselves. Yeah. And it's family first, me second, God first, me second, and these are the tenets that we kind of live by in our house, and so far so good. It's I'm a very lucky dude.
It's a good formula.
That's awesome.
It's a really good formula because it's clearly working.
Yeah, so far.
I'm fascinated by what you guys do because I don't do that. So when I'm watching Minority Report, for instance, and I'm watching you fly, and you have the experience of making it, creating it, green screening, or whatever the process was, and you're watching it, which you probably don't put it on that often. Do you, when you see a movie that you've done, and this goes to you as well, do you recall the experience of making it, or do you watch it for what it is in the end product?
I generally don't watch anything that I do.
Okay.
And it's not that, unless I have to. If like sometimes we'll go to a premiere and Reve and I will sneak out the back door after the red carpet and go have a nice dinner someplace.
Right.
Because I enjoy watching myself. I get lost in the character when I watch it. Like a couple of years ago, I really wanted to see American Horror Story where I played Eisenhower. I'm like, I just want to just take a peek and see what that looked like. And I didn't even recognize me because it's a character. So when I see myself, even if it's 25 years ago, as a method actor, I'll know exactly the thought that I had in my head at that moment that got me to that point. So like we were talking about earlier, clear the mechanism. I'm really good at just nothing exists except for the character's world. And I tell my kids, or when I'm coaching kids in sports or in theater, or whatever the case is, Oscar Wilde said, art is useless to anyone but the artists themselves, meaning you can't care what you think of my art. This is my art, and I'm going to do the best that I can. Now you put that into a team situation like doing a movie, then it's the most amazing thing, and you don't think of anything but the character because that's what you're supposed to do. So you ask, it's when I go back and see anything that I've done, I'm back into that spot. That's why I cannot possibly watch Band of Brothers. I've watched maybe 4 seconds of it since we filmed it, because it's so emotional. Because I knew exactly where I was going with, and back then I was pure method, like 24/7 method.
Yeah,
really.
And Reve gave me this. After like dating for 2 months, she's like, yeah, look, unless you can leave your work at work and actually enjoy your life, this isn't going to work. And if you're a method actor, aren't you supposed to draw from your life and enjoy and live a life? I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been to the greatest universities in the world. And after 2 days of being all by myself, I'm like, okay, she's right. So now I can switch it on from, like my writing and director partner, Derek, he laughs because we'll do a take, and as soon as they cut, I'll pick up my phone. Hey, honey, how the kids? Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Rolling. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Cut. So how's everything? So I could literally flip it like that, so I know exactly where my character is. But then you'd go insane if you live 24/7 as a character. I've seen guys lose their marbles because of it. So
it seems tough.
I studied method in New York for 3 years with Marcia Halfrecht. She was a wonderful teacher, and I learned a lot from her, and I enjoyed the method. Then I also studied it at the Atlantic Theater Company, the Mammoth, right? So I feel like I got two very different schools and different approaches.
Right.
And to me, it's a smorgasbord. You find
course.
find what works, because it's all about trying to find the truth of whatever you're doing. To me, and I remember one of the improv exercises we used to do. We used to do a show called The Real World, which was a parody on MTV's Real World or whatever. So everybody was a character. And our director used to make us come in, and he'd say, okay, when you come through the door, you're that character, and you have to live like that, answer questions, and we're all going to go out to dinner after this. We're going to, and no one's breaking character until midnight tonight.
Wow.
And so it was great, because I was playing this character Leviticus, who was like a street preacher or whatever, and that's so when people would talk to me, I would answer questions as that person. I would think and react and contribute, and everything was in that mindset.
That's great.
And it was great, because you got to really put the skin on and keep it on, and have to really react and think and rationalize and all that stuff, and all those elements come in. But that's how I always enjoyed that, because I felt like it made you take a bigger bite.
That's right.
On the apple.
That's right.
So.
And it's freeing at the same time.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
I love doing what I do.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's fun, right? It's amazing.
It's
amazing. It's hard to find anything as rewarding.
I never grew up. I get to live in the land of make-believe my whole life. Here I am, 58. My kids think I'm just such a goof.
Yeah.
And at home I can be as goofy as I want and still be a kid. So I'm very blessed to have the life.
Well, you are very strong in your approach to things, your work, but also your life. You have made some wonderful decisions with the way you handle your acting. You're very well known for saying that you won't do sex scenes or whatever, because.
Have you seen how hot my wife is?
I'm serious.
No.
I have not met your wife yet, but
We're about to.
It should be here soon.
but we're about to.
That's right.
But that's a wonderful stance to take, and you do it out of respect for your wife and your marriage, and that's a wonderful thing. My girlfriend is like, I told her I was going to be talking to you today, and she was like, first thing she goes, you know, and I was like, I do.
Way to go, Neal.
Yeah, no,
Way to go,
so many guys, so many acting friends are like, you're a jerk.
Way to
You're
go,
just a
Neal.
jerk.
Here's the bar.
That's right.
Here's Neal.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
No, but it's wonderful though, because I appreciate your convictions. I appreciate how you do things. Has that? I don't know if it's affected your career, or if it's. Do you find yourself playing more types of characters other than other? What has it done, if anything?
It made me be. Look, when we started dating and got married and such, started having kids, I was like, okay, I need to have a career if this is the path I'm going to do, and I don't want to do this. So what am I going to? Well, the obvious choice was either the villain. So I never, in a million years, if you said that kid who was Snoopy, you're going to go to Hollywood and be the villain du jour for the next 20 years. I'm like, you out of your mind. But that's what happened. Or a war hero in the middle of Afghanistan, where there's no women around. So those were kind of the roles. So, and it prepared me for, I remember it was about 5-6 years ago. Yeah, 5-6 years ago. I was sitting, and every New Year's I jump into water and freeze and say, okay, what's my plan for this year? And this one time I literally could feel God talking to me and saying, okay, and I always ask him, what do you want me to do this year? Because I really want you to do films for me. And I just, and I know for a fact I could just feel it. And from then on in, we're like, okay. And Reve was always saying, you got to write your own stuff. Clint Eastwood told me, you're lazy. I'm like, what? You're lazy. You're a gun for hire. You're smarter than that. And it took me years to kind of figure out that he was kind of right. And then Derek, my partner, Presley, and we started writing. Our first movie we did was a $500,000 film. Next one was, I love the character, so we did part 2 to it, and Reve raised $1.5 million for it. We did that, and then we did a couple of Westerns, the Warrant series, and then we went on to Black Spartans, which we did last year, and now The Shift and Homestead we produced, and now this last one we did called The Last Rodeo, which was a $9 million budget that John Avnet directed, and it's about, and I wrote this with Derek, about this one-time rodeo mega legend. His wife died 13 years ago of brain cancer, and ever since then his life's been just torture and awful. He finally has a grandson, and his grandson has the same brain tumor. And they have no money, they have no insurance. So what's he going to do? Once you win the green jacket, you're always invited back. So there I am in my 50s, and I go back and said, I want to ride the championship. And they're like, do you want to die? You can't get on a 1,500-pound bull that you haven't been on in 13 years and think that you can ride. And I tell them why, and they're like, and Christopher McDonald, who was in the film, was just masterful. Michael T. Williamson plays my best friend, my bullfighter, the rodeo clown. And it was just one of those just magic films that we're making films that all these films, even like the ones, the Redstone and Boone, they're about a hitman who finds his faith again. And all the characters that I have grapple with their faith, and by the end, they realize it's faith that's going to get me through things. So we've been blessed to be able to be on this run where people keep investing in the McDonough Company to keep making films that, kind of make the world a better place. And we're going to the heartland of America. And it was funny, I was reading in Variety this morning. Twisters has done so well because it wasn't New York and Los Angeles where usually the big money is from the movies. The number one screen in America to watch Twisters was in Oklahoma City. Obviously Oklahoma, but Dallas, Nashville, the heartland of America came out in droves to watch a film about the heartland of America. So that's what we're doing with Angel Studios. We're making films that are really about the heartland of America and giving a voice to those people, which generally they never really have in films anymore. And it's been, my gosh, I'm just blessed beyond belief to be able to make movies with my wife and call in my buddies to be, to kill it for us in the films. And John Avnet, who directed this film, he's a master. I mean, he's an absolute master. And, from Fried Green Tomatoes to Up Close and Personal to all the years of Justified. And, we've been buddies for a long time since Boomtown. And I'm just, it's pretty awesome.
That's amazing. What a nice run. And you're talking about Homestead. This is Homestead right here. I got So tell us about that, because this is coming out in Christmas?
Yeah. Again, through Angel Studios. Apocalypse happens. I'm this billionaire.
Did you write this?
No. Reve and I produced it. And this billionaire has this massive home with thousands and thousands of acres, and he hires this militia to help protect his land while they're homesteading because nothing is left. And all of a sudden, people start to come to my land and they want in because they knew I have basically everything. And what happens thereafter between myself and the militia that I hire, and what's their ideals of what it should be and what mine are, and how that conflicts. And it's just really it's a fantastic piece that Angel Studios, whom I love, we did The Shift together. We got this. Now we have The Last Rodeo coming out. That we'll be doing that one as well. Yeah. We're in a really great spot, and Homestead's just it's wicked. It's a really great piece, and I'm really proud of it.
That's fantastic.
Killer. You know what? Just the premise sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So, and Reve says I have a face for cowboy hats or military helmets, and that's it. So she's right. Thanks.
Well, the cowboy hat thing is true. Like I loved you in Yellowstone. I've loved you in everything I've seen, pretty much. You've never let me down.
Thank you.
Yellowstone, you're such a bad guy.
Awful. Just awful.
Just brutal. Those type of characters.
Wait till you see Tulsa King.
Oh yeah, and Tulsa King. That's another.
Oh wait a minute.
That's in the Taylor family.
Okay. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, when I got onto Tulsa King, my wife Reve and we zoomed with Sylvester Stallone. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. It's Stallone. And you hear all these things, and I had heard this press about Sylvester, that he's difficult or this or that. I'm like, I've worked with some difficult people. Let's see what this is like. Yeah. So the first day on the set, he's just like, he knows your lines, he knows his lines, he knows the scene that precedes this, that we shot 2 weeks ago. He knows exactly what's going on in the next thing. He helps write all the scripts. This guy is a machine.
Yeah.
And his wife's always around her. His kids are always on set. And he's always there. And he's in it to win it. And at 78 years old, this dude makes us look like weenies.
Yeah.
His fingernails have veins. I mean, he's just shredded. He works out every day, and there are some actors who are great on camera and are awful off camera, right? And I pride myself on, I will give you buckets of off camera just so I can get more reactions out of you.
Yeah.
So doing this scene a couple weeks ago, and I'm doing off camera for Sly, and I'm just throwing him everything, and then it's his turn. I'm like, is he even going to be here for this? Because I've been in shows where there's milling, and he gets into it so much so he literally he's getting so tense, and he's grabbing his package, and he's just getting it, and he's just so angry. I'm like, and there's a part of me, I'm like, holy smokes. Like one of the greatest actors of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is. One of the most successful men of all time, cares so much. that he's hurting himself to give me
Off
everything
camera.
off camera,
Off camera.
giving me everything he has to make sure this scene is awesome.
That's so killer.
Well, that's such a professional.
Ah.
That's such a.
I love that dude.
Yeah, it might
I
even
just,
be beyond professional. It's just.
although
I know what it's like, though. I know what you're talking about, because sometimes people are supposed to be off camera with you, and they're either phoning it in if they show.
Right.
That's right.
If they're one on the call sheet, sometimes they're like, "Do you mind if so and so reads with you?"
Oh,
you're
yeah.
Like, you're like, "No, that's great."
Working with a C-stand. But the very first scene I did was, it was really like a pissing contest between me and Stallone. It's the first time you meet my character, and I'm this tough as nails guy, and he's as tough as nails guy. So we're doing, the Reve's there, and oh my gosh, it just cracks me up. Because when I'm in a character, and you can't take me out of it. I just go there. And so finally, he gets in my face, and then my lines are, "What do you think? You're some kind of tough guy that you can take advantage of this?" And I'm sitting there, and I start doing Stallone. "Oh, you think some kind of tough guy?" Oh. In his face, and I can see his hands balling up into fists.
So you've got a real reaction.
Oh, he's getting angry, and he's off camera. This is all just, and I'm like, and then I go off, and Reve's like, no, you can't do that day one. He's gonna fire you. You can't lose this job. This is a great job. I'm like, no, honey, I think he's really liking this. I think he is. And I go back and we do it again, and I keep doing it. And we finally finish the scene. And he gives me the biggest hug. He's like, dude, that's what we want on the show. You came and you brought it. I'm going to give it back to you. We're going to make something great this season.
I love
and
it.
then he comes backstage, and to the area where Reve and a couple of my buddies are. Steve Mitchell, who's the Tulsa King himself, and Chris Tucker was there, a friend of ours, and we're all just sitting there. And he comes and he holds court for 40 minutes telling stories, and it was like, if I hadn't given all of myself with all my confidence to my approach of acting and losing myself in a character, those things wouldn't happen. And God has given me this crazy amount of confidence when I get to act. In real life, I'm kind of a shy person. And people don't realize that, but I really kind of am.
Yeah.
But when I get to play a character, I can be anything I want. And it's so freeing that I get to, from psychopaths to heroes, I get to play from infomercials to commercials to theater to like last year.
I agree.
It's great.
I agree 100%. There's, whenever I get to play a jerk, usually a comedic jerk, but a jerk, that's a part of your personality, persona, that should never be allowed out.
Never.
Okay. But on occasion, when you're
freedom,
when you're that character,
yeah,
and you want to be that character because it demands you have to be full jerk. It's really fun.
It's freeing.
It's really fun because you take a part of your psyche or your personality out for a walk that should never be allowed out of the cage, and when you let them out, it's bizarre. It's wild. It's really wild.
Have you ever pulled out any jerky characters in real life?
Oh, I tried that with my kids, and they're like, Dad, come on. No, sorry, it doesn't work. I did a show once called Justified, and there was a
great show, by the way.
It was a great show.
Great show.
And Reve was there that day, and her mom was there, and there's a scene I'm naked in my room, hopped up on OxyContin because I'm an oxy dealer.
You got high on your own supply?
Yeah, that's right. and sitting there folding up my laundry, I'm putting my laundry, and I go into the bathroom, and there's this 18-year-old young man handcuffed to the toilet. Yeah. And it's absurd on the day. We're laughing. Reve and I are just laughing at how absurd the situation is that this is what I get to do. Yeah. So a month later, we're sitting there, and we want to see that scene because Reve was at that day. And she sees the scene, and she didn't talk to me for 2 days. And finally after 2 days, like, honey, what's going on? You're not really talking to me. She goes, you scared me. I'm like, what? Because I want to know exactly what you were thinking when you walked into the bathroom with that young man. I'm like, honey, you were there in the day. But I need to know what you were thinking. It was so scary. Yeah. I'm like, you really want to know? I'm like, yeah, I want to know. And I keep my choices so simple. And my character's choice was, well, I just had all this oxy. I need to brush my teeth.
That was it.
So detached, though.
So detached, so simple.
But that's what makes it cold and sinister.
So brutal. Yeah. Like, and that's why I generally don't watch my stuff, because I don't want to steal. That's another reason. I don't want to steal from one character and bring it to a different character, because I want each character to be fresh and different. Yeah. Like the two characters from Tulsa King to Yellowstone, if you really think about it, they're kind of very similar, but they're so completely different through the approach that I have. Mm-hmm. And dude, I'm just fortunate that I get to do what I get to do.
Did you study a lot of years in acting school?
At Syracuse, it was all, Syracuse was at the time one of the top, if not the top.
Oh, fine
school.
arts.
Yeah,
For fine arts, it was
unbelievable.
Still is.
Still is, yeah. So we had, Arthur Storch, who was the professor at the actor studio, and bring up Bobby Lewis for master's classes and stuff. So it was really, we started with 99 kids in the class, and by the time we graduated, there was, I think, 11 or 12 left. Because you'd be doing a scene, and Arthur would say, that wasn't very good. You should leave this department and go into a different major. Wow. Next scene, please.
Just served it up cold.
And you'd just be like, ugh. I would see people just crumble. Yeah. Which made you work that much harder because you didn't want to get booted from the system. Right. So by the time I was graduated from Syracuse, my confidence level was crazy because the fire was right there. Yeah. And then I went to study at Lambda in London, and so I had lots of great training before I even got here.
With your experience and your schooling, are you, and your experience and wisdom, are you hoping to teach? Because it sounds like you definitely have the capacity for it. Do you have the desire?
I coach a lot of sports, tons and tons of sports, and I think I'm really good at giving advice to young kids and how to overcome situations and how to focus on the task at hand. And sometimes when we were up in Vancouver for all those years at our school, at Sacred Heart, awesome school, phenomenal school. Kelly Kozak, the greatest principal ever. I would help with theater there and coach kids. And in fact, one time they said that there's a local youth theater in Vancouver, and my son Morgan, our oldest, was auditioning for it for Sandy in Annie. And he got the part, and the director's like, would you be interested at all in playing Daddy Warbucks in the show? And these are like big shows and huge, and months of rehearsal. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. It would be great to play Daddy Warbucks. It's been a dream of mine, but I'm doing Arrow now, and it's just, I wouldn't have time. So I go back, and I see Revane. I'm like, hey, the director said, you want me to be Daddy Warbucks? And what did you tell him? I told him I couldn't because Aaron goes, no. You're going to get in the car. You're going to go back there right now, and you're going to tell him, yes, you're going to do it, and you're going to have just one night, Friday night, and we're going to have wine and cheese and make it a big event because you're new to this neighborhood, you idiot. Be gracious and help these kids and teach these kids. Yeah. And it turned out to be top 10 greatest nights of my life to be on stage with, as Warbucks, with Catherine, our oldest daughter, was in the chorus, and there's Morgan playing Sandy, and to give back to your neighborhood and your community is what you're supposed to do, right? Mm-hmm. And to do things like that and help, again, young minds find something that they're good at. Yeah. And a lot of parents like theater. I don't know about theater. I'm not sure. What theater does or what sports does is it puts you in a spotlight that you have to actually perform. You have to do something. And it's not whether you're going to be a professional actor or a professional baseball player, professional anything. It puts you in a pressure situation, learning social skills, and having to be on time with a schedule. And the discipline that gives to these young kids is immeasurable. Whether they go on to be whatever in the rest of their life, they will never forget those young formative years of somebody said, no, you can do this, and go kick butt at it. Yeah. And for me, it's one of my favorite things, is giving back. And it's, of course, I have Reve as my life coach to make sure that I'm always there doing it. So.
But I agree with you with regard to theater and sports, because the intangibles of life, it's not, you don't get those in the classroom, and you learn how to individually achieve, but also how to serve something bigger than yourself.
Amen.
And so that's why I've always thought the sports theater combo
it's great.
Is a really wonderful.
It's like when we're casting our films, you could have, there's two Rob Riggles, and this one Rob Riggle never played sports. Just as talented as this Rob Riggle. Mm-hmm. I'm taking the kid who played sports because he understands showing up on time, discipline, social skills, all those other things, and for a greater good. There's a goal of not letting the team down.
Right.
And so for me and Reve, films or TV, that's the ultimate team sport. And if you're there dialed into what your position is and you're giving your all, it becomes infectious to everyone, to the craft service people, to the drivers, to everyone. They hear, oh, that guy kicked butt today. I want to be like that. Or, wow, it's cool to be part of this team. This team is really flourishing because we have guys who really care.
That's it. When you see somebody else caring, you have to get on board.
That's right.
Did you get your first part you auditioned for?
No.
No. It's not meant to be.
Yeah.
So my question is, you got the first part you auditioned for. How many auditions did you not get until your next one?
Tons. Tons and tons and tons. And I didn't care. Every time I tell my daughter London, who's going to be an actress, and Reve, had her come up on stage with me last night and introduce some of the stuff for the Academy Awards thing last night, which was awesome. To see her shining on stage was, just really, really great. But I tell them all, it's like, you're not going to get every audition. It's not possible. So I had this thing of whenever I go into an audition, going back to that Oscar Wilde quote, I didn't care if I got the part. It was my time. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to audition the way that I think the character should be. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes I fall flat on my face. But that's how you learn, by losing and failure. And
I was just saying this.
You said that earlier.
I was just saying.
When you shank one in the woods, right?
You learn not to do that.
Why did that happen? Okay, well, I figured out my hands weren't in the right spot. My hips didn't come through. My grip was a little tight. Let's try that again in the next one. And then all of a sudden you get it right.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but we were just talking about this earlier, and I was saying to Darren, success teaches you very, very little. But failure teaches you everything, and it teaches you quickly. And so that's why I'm not afraid of failure.
Yeah.
Because I actually look at it as a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I think people can get sidetracked, is they look at it as a bad thing. It's not.
It doesn't feel good, but you can get a lot from it. Because when you don't accomplish the mission, you go, oh.
No, it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. But if your mindset is right, if you look at it as, okay, what am I supposed to learn here? What am I supposed to take away? You're just going to be better.
Yeah.
You're going to be better. And I remember I was doing a movie one time with Michael Keaton, and I was complaining because I had an audition later that day.
Uh-oh.
And
not the guy that
Michael
complains.
does not suffer fools.
And he corrected me in a kind of a wonderful, firm way.
What did he say?
He told me to stop complaining, and he said, embrace it and don't belittle it. Because I was like, I got to go do this actor thing, like they want me to be all dramatic. Or I was kind of just pissing all over this opportunity, and I didn't get the response I thought I was going to get, which is like, oh, that sucks. Good luck.
Right.
It was a, hey, take this seriously.
You got berated by Batman.
I did.
You did.
But the thing was, I didn't get butthurt. I didn't walk out of there going, screw him,
Right.
I went out of there going, okay, I just learned something.
Right.
And I'm glad I did, because it changed my attitude about auditioning.
Right.
And I've never been the same since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's killer, man.
You should send him a little postcard one of these days.
I would love to. I don't have his number, but if I ever did, I would say thank you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, you can say it right now.
Thanks, Michael.
Done. That's awesome.
Easy.
Yeah.
Man.
So, hey, before we leave, though, and thank you, by the way, for spending so much time with us.
Yes, thank you for coming down.
Absolutely.
So you've got all these great projects going on. You clearly have faith is a big part of your life. Giving back. It sounds to me like you're doing all the right things. In a perfect world, what's the next? I know you've got projects right and left here. I can't wait to see some of these. Homestead being one of them. Last Rodeo being one of them.
That's
also
going to be awesome.
In a perfect world, what's the thing you'd like to do next? Is there an Everest you still want to go after? Is there anything out there?
I don't know if there's an ever look. I go day by day, kind of in my life, and really kind of enjoy the moment of each day as much as I can. And with 5 kids, you're always thinking, how can I be the best dad, or how can I be the best husband, or how can I help my kids be the best that they can be? So, look, I've had an awesome life. I mean, just incredible so far, and that I get to produce movies with my wife. Like, come on. It's just stupid, and so I'm not sure if there's, own the Boston Red Sox. Maybe that would be the only thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is the where's the end city that you would like to live in? Like, is it LA?
Is it back in Cape Cod?
Vancouver? Is it Cape Cod?
Oh, it's Cape Cod. I know. I even know the house.
You do?
Yeah.
Is it for sale right
It's
now?
very expensive. I don't have Rob Riggle money. What are you gonna do? But yeah, it's every time I leave Los Angeles and I go someplace else, because we live in LA, I'm like, oh my gosh, the taxes here, the traffic's crazy, blah 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 blah. And every time I go someplace else, every time I come back to LA, I'm like, oh, this place is pretty awesome. We've got so many amazing things. The weather's great. There's phenomenal golf courses everywhere you want to play, public or private. There's just great artistic people here, and that's the thing. That's the vibe that I love so much about LA, is that there's always artistic-minded people to hang out with and talk to, and that you may not get in many other places. So I don't know. I love LA, but I love Cape Cod. To live in Hyannisport would be just, that'll be where we'll probably, and even Reve's like, not yet, honey, but
yeah.
So
that's
not shoveling snow quite yet.
That's the.
But
I think so.
I appreciate what you said just now, because I have been poo-pooing LA lately. I've been very negative.
Most people do. I'm born and raised here.
Everybody does.
Everybody does.
But you just gave me a nice perspective that I really don't think about very much, which is there is a lot of talented, creative people here.
Phenomenal.
Everywhere.
If you can, I guess maybe I'm being lazy, because if you can seek them out, it might be worth spending some time with these folks.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, think about this. We do this podcast here,
yeah,
and he does not live far.
Yeah.
I mean, just that in and of itself, like, there's a lot of people nearby.
Oh, there's tons.
Who are who are creatives.
Tons.
True.
And it's
no, but it's a better. See, I like getting these. I need to be refreshed every now and then, and have somebody remind me.
So you have to say, like Reve and I have been to many Lakers games, and going to Lakers games is fun. It's great.
Yeah.
Going to Dodger Stadium is great and fun. Yeah. But when you go to Fenway Park or you go to the Garden, and like last year we were lucky, and I did Whitey Bulger on stage for one night in Boston at the Wilbur Theater, which is the oldest theater in America. And
I've been there.
It was just.
I played it.
Have you really?
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And there were no tickets left. It sold out in 18 minutes. Yeah. And one of our friends is one of the coaches for the Celtics. And he's like, Neal, I need tickets. And I'm like, there's nothing left. And Reve said, you can have mine. I'll figure out some standing room only, and we'll figure it out. So he goes to the show, and it was like, wow, it was just phenomenal. And he goes, I got a gift for you. Tomorrow I got you 2 tickets to the first game against the Heat in the playoffs. I'm like, great. Reve's never been to the Garden, and this is going to be phenomenal. He says, I can't promise what the seats are going to be like. I'm like, interesting. So we get there, and they walk us all the way down, and we're sitting courtside next to the bench. Yeah. And 15 minutes before the game, the place is deafeningly loud. I mean, the place is just crazy. I mean, people are just screaming. The game hasn't started yet. And Reve's like, now I understand why you're so nuts. Everyone in Boston is crazy about their sports.
Yeah.
And we are. We're crazy about our sports.
It's a sports town.
It's
a
sport.
lot.
So, that's one thing I do miss, the edge of Boston people, and I love the honesty of if they don't like you, they're going to tell you straight up, I just don't like you. You're an idiot. Yeah. You know, or if they love you, they'll love you forever.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I truly miss. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
doing the Marine Corps lunch on November 13th in Boston.
Are you really?
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it'd be great.
It's going to be a good time.
I'm going to Boston next week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Boston is a great town.
It's a great town.
No doubt about that. It's a great town. Hey, Neal McDonough, thank you so much for being with us today, man.
Thanks, bro.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, man.
That was
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, this has been Riggle's Picks. Rob Riggle,
Darren
Darren Leader,
Leader.
Neal McDonough.
God bless you guys.
I love you.